His life, but now can humans save his life?
News 10 First at 4 starts now.
Philadelphia's NBC10.
Serving Pennsylvania,
New Jersey, and Delaware.
Now live.
This is
News 10 First at 4.
Florida residents are trying to put their lives back together the day after tornadoes killed dozens and caused millions of dollars in damage. Good afternoon, I'm Larry Menti.
And I'm Tracy Davidson, in for Renee Chenault.
And our top story on News 10 First at 4, an emotional day after for Florida residents cleaning up from deadly tornadoes. The death toll now stands at 37, and officials say it could go much higher. News 10 national correspondent Leanne Gregg is live in Winter Garden, Florida with the latest on the recovery. Leanne, did another day bring any relief?
Yes, it did, Larry. This is just one example of the type of the destruction that the storm has caused. Within a half-a-block area, 6 homes were destroyed, causing hundreds and thousands of dollars of damage. Surprisingly, no one in this neighborhood was even injured. An aerial search for the missing continues following the worst series of tornadoes in Florida's history. Police dogs are hoping to find any traces of victims lost in the debris. Rescue crews are searching for signs of life. Finding a missing pet was one victory.
Rescue cat. Somebody's missing this baby.
A family from Sanford, Florida lost nearly everything, but their lives were spared. For that, they say, they feel lucky.
I pray to God my kids were alive and that everything worked out the way it did.
Another family, the Bradleys, returned to their home also to find little. Memories of the storm, they say, will haunt them forever.
Threw me the baby and jumped in the closet. I mean, it's all the time that we had.
Power is being restored to more than 135,000 customers who lost electricity in the storm. Insurance companies say people have already reported damage to more than 7,000 homes, boats, and cars. We are back live. Property owners will be going through what's left of their homes probably for the next several days, possibly even weeks. So far, there's been no complete damage estimate. Insurers say this is no doubt the worst damage from a tornado in this region ever. So, Larry, that's all from here. Back to you.
Leanne, right now, where are these people going? I mean, I know some go to relatives, but are there areas set up for them to live in the meantime?
There are a lot of shelters that are being set up. In fact, in the Orlando area, there are donations that are being taken from more than 25 different places. The Red Cross, the Salvation Army. There's been an outpouring of help.
Okay. Thank you very much, Leanne Gregg reporting. And coming up on News 10 at 5, we'll go back to Limerick, Montgomery County, and talk to survivors who lived through a deadly tornado 4 years ago there. That's on News 10 at 5.
Rough weather from yet another nor'easter pounded our area overnight, and once again, the Jersey Shore got the worst of the high winds, heavy rains, and beach erosion. But the storm caused problems really all over the region. This was the scene earlier today in Collingswood, where the area around Route 130 quickly filled with water. The flooding shut down the underpass connecting Collingswood Circle to Collins Avenue. Some made it through, others stalled out and waited for the water to recede. But as we reported earlier, the worst was down the shore.
News 10's New Jersey correspondent Terry Ruggles is live in Ocean City with the latest now. Hi, Terry.
Well, what hit here, Larry, was what was left of that stuff that went through Florida. But here I'm at 34th Street in Ocean City. Wanted to show you this. Take a look at the beach here. Beach looks pretty doggone good. Beach is pretty doggone good up and down the coast with a few exceptions. The problems were on the back bay. Now, take a look at this morning in Atlantic County. The Black Horse Pike, as it so often does, watered over a high tide, and it came right up out of the bay and came right over onto the Black Horse Pike. Traffic had to be rerouted in many places, as you can see. And then we had that water in Ocean City. The problem late this afternoon was still on the back bay sides, with some side streets still blocked off by water. And then we sent Jet Chopper 10 over the Wildwoods. Take a look at North Wildwood with me. Looking down there, you can see still some problems in North Wildwood late this afternoon, and that's just water that hasn't receded yet. That's the bad news. Certainly not as bad as it's been. Dave Breeden is with Emergency Management here in Ocean City. Dave, was this one just a small pup compared to some of these monsters that have worked up the coast?
No, we would consider this like a moderate coastal storm. Most of the flooding was on our back bay. Many of the roads and streets back there we had to close. In addition, our 9th Street Bridge had to be closed for about 4 or 5 hours this morning. So,
with the exception of these side streets we just talked about, everything's open in Ocean City right now, though?
That's correct. All the roads, all the bridges are open and passable in Ocean City.
What happened that made this happen? You thought the winds were going to change and they didn't?
We were hoping last night, during the night, that the winds would shift from the northeast to the northwest by high tide, 6 in the morning. They did not, thus we had that flooding.
And what have the winds done now?
The winds have shifted during the morning and afternoon to the northwest, so the water's being blown back out to sea.
Okay, so Dave Breeden is the bearer of good news for people down along the shore. There shouldn't be any major problems tonight just because, as Dave said, the wind has shifted. So that's the shore report for 4 o'clock. Reporting live from Ocean City, Terry Ruggles, News 10.
Terry, you know that area much better than I do, and so you can answer this question. Is there a cumulative effect with this kind of stuff? I mean, more than the beach erosion, but just the fact that the ground is so saturated that a moderate storm can be a major flood?
Larry's asking about the cumulative effect of all the rain, 3 inches we had last night. Does this build up to cause any kind of other problems besides the typical flooding?
Well, what happens when you have 3 inches of rain, it causes more severe flooding. Our drainage system drains out into the ocean and the bay, and when the bay and ocean are high, the water has no place to go, so heavy rainfall will make the flooding worse.
There we go, Larry.
Okay, thanks a lot, Terry. That means we have to hope for no more rain down there. Thanks.
Now let's check in with John Belaris. John, talk to us about the winds, because that's a major factor down there. If they just had the rains, then the bays could drain out.
Right. Now the winds have shifted to the northwest, and that's the best news for the shore residents. That means now the back bays will slowly begin to drain out, although we have another high tide coming in within the next couple of hours. So we're anticipating some minor flooding with that one because the winds are now out of the northwest. Let's check out some of the tides for you right now. They'll be arriving between, generally around 6 o'clock this evening. So again, tides running 1.5 to 2 feet above the norm, but the winds northwest, that will help to drain out the back bays, and you can see all the rain down the shore. Look at that, over 3 inches of rain at Stone Harbor and over 2 inches of rain in Atlantic City. I'll be back in just a little bit and give you a complete forecast. Tracy and Larry.
All right, John, see you then. The man credited with striking a deal with Iraq, Saddam Hussein, returned to a hero's welcome at the UN in New York. UN Secretary General Kofi Annan was greeted by cheering crowds today, this after a long weekend peace mission in Baghdad. Annan left Iraq on a positive note, getting Hussein to comply with sanctions that should get UN inspectors back to work. Later, Annan said there are still many details that need to be worked out with Saddam, but there is a sense of approval on the agreement from the UN Security Council, and that is the important next step.
But it is a victory, not for me if we call it victory, but a victory for the United Nations, for this organization that sent me there as a servant. And I hope that this new phenomena where peoples from all over the world come together and focus on something and get it resolved is something that we're going to see more and more of.
All right, but it's not over yet. Annan said it could take a few days before the U.S. is completely happy with the agreement with Iraq, but it's so far a good start. And coming up in just a few minutes, we'll have a live update on Kofi Annan's heroes welcome at the UN and what's next for U.S. military forces in the Persian Gulf.
Back here at home, Upper Merion police are still searching for a suspect in the murder of a well-known dance teacher. Police found 66-year-old Joan DeMarco beaten to death at her dance studio on DeKalb Pike in King of Prussia. DeMarco's lifelong passion was dancing. She taught at her basement studio in the Marquis Apartments for 26 years. The victim had complained of 2 earlier break-ins there. Police think the 66-year-old widow surprised a burglar while entering her studio Sunday morning. A SEPTA bus and state police cruiser collided this morning, slightly injuring one passenger and sending the trooper to the hospital. It happened around 8:30 this morning near Route 291 and Bartram Avenue in Essington. State police say the trooper, Alan Trees, cut in front of the bus's path while trying to make a turn. The trooper was treated and released and now faces disciplinary action. And if you drive over the Ben Franklin Bridge, brace yourself. A 2-year facelift begins on Thursday. The $9.9 million project will remove the eastbound toll booths, which aren't used anymore. It will make way for the Easy Pass electronic toll collection in the westbound lanes. The Delaware River Port Authority suggests using the Betsy Ross Bridge during rush hour and having some patience.
Yeah. Now let's check on area traffic as the afternoon rush gets going.
Mark Davies, Mark?
Sage advice. Patience is good for motorists on the road. We actually are not doing as badly as you might think this afternoon, given it's wet. We have leftovers from this morning. Let's take a look at a map at 1:30 in Collingswood. That's shut down still. The Collingswood Circle to Collings Avenue. Believe it or not, because of that.
After record-setting rainfall in parts of the state of California, it's finally getting a chance to dry out, but many residents are still dealing with the mess El Nino-driven storms have left behind. Good afternoon. I'm Jill Brown.
And I'm Bob Stokes. Good afternoon. A snail of a storm is inching its way through the northeast. It's moving quite slowly, unleashing rain, heavy snow, and high winds. Many of you in Boston were fighting wind gusts of more than 45 miles an hour at times as you walk to work. This video tells a story. That sent your umbrellas flying up, and some decided it just wasn't worth the effort to carry one. Watch this in a moment. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, just said forget it. Temperatures were in the 30s today, but the wind chill made it feel like 10 degrees. Man. Okay, the scene wasn't quite as windy in New York City. In fact, it's cold and wet. Not the best day for a walk in Central Park. While heavy rain fell in Manhattan during the morning rush hour, it didn't seem to affect the morning commute. Keep the umbrellas handy. The wind-swept rain should continue into the overnight hours. Boston and Beantown, both a mess. And Albany, New York, you're experiencing sleet right now as this nor'easter moves, as we talked about, at a snail's pace. And as it does so, it's going to continue to whip back that Atlantic moisture. And temperatures are just cold enough in this swath from northern Pennsylvania through the Catskills on up into the Green and White Mountains and even Maine. Just cold enough for that snow. It's a heavy, wet snow. And even in Boston, where it's raining heavily presently, you're going to see maybe some of this precipitation change to a wet snow around daybreak tomorrow. It's going to get just cold enough for that. But right now, there's the sleet coming down in Albany. Be careful around Troy, Schenectady. And as you get into the Berkshires, we could see 6 inches of snow in this area of bright white before it's all said and done. In Altoona, Pennsylvania, over 11 inches of snow has fallen. So this gives you an idea how rough it's been. Now, of course, if you've been with us a while at the Weather Channel, you've seen enough of these pictures of these isobars. These are lines of equal pressure. When they get this This line is of equal pressure. This line is of equal pressure. That means there's a change as you go down. When you get this big of a change over this small of a space, you've got strong northeasterly winds, and that's why they call it a nor'easter. Now, some of those winds will switch around to a more northerly direction as time goes on, but you can see the rain along the coast. Winter storm warnings in effect for some of the highlands of Maine tonight as that swath of snow moves toward the northeast. And this is a lot of this is snowfall coming down. Looks like we're seeing some light rain, by the way, at JFK for you travelers getting ready to go there. And there's a look at the rain coming down in New York. Not a pleasant day in Central Park, and coming down in the Poconos of Pennsylvania quite heavily. In fact, we could see another 6 to 12 inches in this area, and this represents the some of the highest elevations. So just expect the snows as you travel across Vermont, getting into the capital district of New York. And we still have those gale warnings in effect from Eastport, Maine, down to the Merrimack River in Massachusetts. In fact, at the Blue Hill Observatory earlier, just outside of Boston, a 63-mile-per-hour wind gust. You can see all the way down to Ocracoke Inlet, 39 to 54-mile-per-hour winds, and still that heavy surf advisory for the Mid-Atlantic region. But you in the southeast looking beautiful. How about highs in the upper 60s tomorrow for you in Atlanta? Enjoy it. How about the west? Let's return now to Jill Brown.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Before shifting out to the deserts of Arizona, heavy rains left quite a mark on California, leaving behind a path of damage. This is just one example. The California Highway Patrol says the heavy rain crumbled the cement foundation, opening up the sinkhole on Interstate 15 just after midnight. Pounding rains throughout the night worsened the problem, and by this morning the sinkhole looked like a canyon, 65 feet deep in some portions and about 700 feet long. Amazing. Amazing considering this. It looks like a nice quiet day now, doesn't it? Not bad, actually, and a little relief that I'm sure everyone will be happy to take. It looks like the showers have moved out of Southern California, but not before leaving quite a bit behind. Look at these amounts. Now, this is just since Sunday night, and we've had some higher amounts, not verified. We might be adding a few to this as we get in more information, but almost 11 inches in Mount Wilson, Beverly Hills 4 inches, Santa Barbara, it's been quite a month, almost 4 inches just from this event alone. And of course, overall through the month, it's just been incredible. Look at this statistic. In San Francisco, downtown, it's the wettest July 1st through June 30th year this century, 38.61 inches of rain. Now you may be thinking, well, we're not anywhere close to the end of this year if we take our year from July 1st to June 30th. So this is with 4 months left. It's already been the wettest rain year this century. The wettest on record is 49.27 inches, and well, at this rate we may end up getting close to that. So a decent day in California now that the storms have left. A little blinking satellite picture, but you can see that the clouds are over the interior region along the coast. In spite of the fact that the sun is shining again, we still have a heavy surf advisory. This is something that more days than not we have had. So today at this hour it stretches from Point Arena down to the U.S.-Mexican border. I wanted to show you our lightning data. Even though this doesn't look very impressive, we have a few strikes showing up in Arizona, and you can see around Phoenix some real heavy rain. That heavy rain that moved from California is now heading out across Arizona. Maricopa County, you have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect at this hour. And believe it or not, from placing it on the map, and according to reports, I don't believe it's this spot, although it's really pouring down rain here. 3/4 inch hail is expected and some real heavy snow up into the mountains. Salt Lake City, a real snowy day. In Colorado, snow is expected 3 to 6 inches here, but the heavy...
Tarma is live on the action cam in Margate with a story of yet another nor'easter. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Mark. I did see the sun peek through the clouds about a half hour ago. Since then, it has started to rain. This is the 4th nor'easter in 4 weeks, and even true Jersey Shore veterans are getting tired of all this. It's hard to get to work in the morning when the road in front of your job is under several inches of water.
It's aggravating. And you get stuck in your house, you get stuck at work, you don't get to do nothing. It's just, it ruins everything.
The storm dumped up to 3 inches of rain on the Jersey Shore. The northeasterly winds battered the coastline for much of the night.
As of early this morning at the time of high tide, the wind was still coming out of the northeast, thus to push the water up more, and the flooding was a little bit more severe.
By daybreak, the floodwater was still standing. In Pleasantville, the Whitehorse Pike had only one open lane leading into the city. The roads leading to Ocean City's 9th Street Bridge were closed this morning, and parts of West Avenue look more like the Back Bay. From this vantage point, the Pirates ship at a miniature golf course, looked as if it was about to set sail down Ocean Drive. Have you kind of had it with all this? It's been a long winter.
Absolutely. I'm ready to go. I just have to convince the rest of the family.
When the flood water did recede, the damage was clear. In Strathmere, the waves pushed sections of a bulkhead and part of a dune fence onto the road. In Sea Isle City, the back-to-back nor'easters are beginning to take its toll. The road along the northern tip of Ocean Drive is buckling. What have the past couple of weeks been like for you? What have you seen out here?
This road getting worse and worse. The shoulder is completely gone on this road, and passage is getting harder and harder.
Because I'm not.
City is closed until the county figures out how they're going to fix it. Right behind me, you can see those Christmas trees there that the children here in Margate put up. That's a makeshift dune, and that did hold out. But sand in Ocean City's beaches and Sea Isle City's beaches did wash away, so they are dealing with some beach erosion problems in those two towns. Reporting live on the Action Cam, I'm Lisa Quintana in Margate.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, other parts of the Delaware Valley experienced some of that storm misery. High winds stripped the tar paper off a roof in Darby Township early today. No one was hurt, but the family in the home on Calhoun Street awoke to find that they had to call the roofers. In Philadelphia, the wind shut out the lights for some Mount Airy residents overnight. A toppled tree tore down some power lines on McCallum Street. PECO energy crews responded to make needed repairs. At one point, some 8,000 PECO customers were without power last night. For most of us out there today, the rains have been more of an inconvenience, though, than anything else, as long as an umbrella or raincoat was handy.
President Clinton will tour tornado-ravaged Central Florida tomorrow, and he will see firsthand the hundreds of homes and businesses literally in ruins. Already 14 counties have been granted federal disaster assistance. The 6 to 10 El Nino-fueled twisters killed more people, that's 37 now, than Hurricane Andrew in 1992. The search for the missing continued through the debris today. Other people barely escaped death in their crushed homes.
I thought I was going to die. I found all the stuff on top of me, and I kept calling for somebody to help me because it was raining in on me.